In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the Municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mrs. Russell? Here. Mayor Cole?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next on the agenda is presentations, and we have the Citizen of the Year, Robert Bob Eagan. We were going to push this back to the end of the meeting. Don't want anyone in here now. Like a council meeting. Bob, congratulations. So it says, whereas Robert Eagan is a generous community member, respected business owner, and a resident of Pequannock Township from childhood, who has been a great, great friend to many, many people for many, many years. And where Bob is a giver with a heart too big to describe, who has quietly supported untold charities and causes. The PBA, Fire Department, First Aid Squad of Pequannock Township, and neighboring communities. Veterans Associations, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, the Deborah Heart and Lung Center, Chilton Hospital, Gavin Brady Fund, local sports teams, Unico, Rotary Club, Boys and Girls Club, the Suburban Women's Club, Phoenix School, local churches, and others too numerous to name. And to where Bob exemplifies a good friend and neighbor, bringing food to those who are sick, guidance and support to those in need, Santa Claus in a plane to excited children. I think I know that Santa Claus. And to more than his share of bear hugs. And where Bob's a lifelong community support and unassuming leaderships are an important part and fabric of our community. Now therefore, the Township Council of the Township of Pequannock is pleased to honor Robert Eagan as the Pequannock Township 2019 Citizen of the Year in recognition of all his outstanding contributions in making our community a better place to live, work, and raise a family.
Not real good at this, but here we go. First, I'd like to thank the entire council, the administrative officers.
No, thank you.
I'm very honored to you all for considering me for this, and thank you. I want to thank my family, my mom, my girls, my sister-in-laws, their husbands are here tonight, which is really, really nice. I want to thank...
What about your wife?
Part 4. I want to thank all my friends. I didn't think this many of you liked me. All our golf team that's here that we do our fundraising with, that's brought in a couple bucks for people in town that we can help. I want to thank them all for coming here. My wife, Sal, she does so much for the functions that we do that most people probably don't even know. But I know, and thank you. I'm also honored that dinner club even canceled. There's two people I'd really like to thank, Angela and Bob DeLuke. From what I understand, they started this whole process, and I'm honored to have you guys as my friends. Coming, folks, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, do pictures. We need lots of pictures.
I hope you're all staying.
Mr. Cole, I have some questions on the water issues.
I'm still drinking the water.
She go first.
Carol, get in there. You wrote it.
Joe, behave with that picture.
I'm taking a selfie with me. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sure we'll see one of these at the Sunset Pub picture.
Girls, Mom. Everybody else.
Does he know that now he has to march in the parade?
No candy.
Okay, over here.
Let me get one picture.
Picture blocks the gun. Thank you all so much.
I just got to give one thing to you.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I guess they got to tell you you ride in front of the parade.
Thank you so much.
I got to check with my wife.
It's all ready.
Not all staying, huh? Everybody's not staying, huh?
I missed it? You can see it on channel 77. Hey, Sally, make sure that goes in the bag so it doesn't get wet. Hey, Bob, I gave Sally the plastic bag for that. She put it in the plastic bag so it doesn't get wet.
So you have a plastic bag?
She has the bag for that. Yeah.
You guys can go early.
All right. Yeah.
Good. I have a bag.
I'm sure somebody.
Yeah, I have it.
How are you?
Did you meet me?
Prom? We're going to the prom. All right. We're ready?
Yeah, the challenge is keeps what is right now. It'd be nice to get a drought. Sell some water.
At this time, is there any reports or comments from any individual, any volunteers serving our community? We'll give you a couple minutes, Frank.
Are you going to stay now?
Yeah, please stay, Bob.
I invited a few people over.
Yeah, they're all coming over. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll be happy shortly.
Mr. Spizzeri.
He's done early enough. Up there.
Up there, okay.
Eagan.
Hey!
End of the year.
Well, at least we got some people.
Another great one on the list. There you go. Anyway, my name is Frank Spizzeri, and this thing on you. I'm acting chair for the Open Space Committee because Joe Wells is inoperable right at the moment, and an operation on his foot. We had our meeting last night, and before I start with that, I would like to just talk about something we did a couple of days ago with the Flood Commission. Myself and Tom Andrea, who's not here, but we took a ride with them, and I guess they wanted me to explain a little bit of how we purchased and demolished so many houses, which we started in 2006. And actually, the list is, we had 47 houses that we actually took down in this township. And at that time, it was only demolitions that they would award you money for, both Morris County, Green Acres, and also FEMA. We went everywhere. Went to the Pumpton Dam, went to Harrison, went to, saw all the houses that were elevated. We showed them all the places that we took down the houses and planted the 400 trees, which actually, that's an added note, there's about 90% of those trees are still surviving. Of course, with all this rain, they're probably going to do better, so hopefully anyway. The meeting itself, it was a short meeting, but we covered a lot of ground, and we also went through a questionnaire that was given to us in regards to the master plan, and we came up with some answers for that. So the next meeting, we're going to meet with Eric, and I don't know his last name, who is in charge of doing the master plan. So we're ready for him, just so everybody knows. One other thing, just like to straighten the record out. I wasn't here at the last meeting, and I don't want to mention any names, but a gentleman got up here and indicated that the township spent $6 million of open space money in regards to what we did for buying the houses. Actually, the money was grants that we got, most of it. 80% of that $6 million that we spent was grant money that we either got from Morris County, Green Acres, and we got $5.8 million from FEMA. So that wasn't a true, and I'm sure he knows it, but, and I don't like to go against anybody that says things, but I just wanted to straighten out the record. And that's all I have right now. I'll come back later for another thing.
Thank you. Any other reports from volunteers? Seeing none. The next item on the agenda is public comment. The public comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized. Come to the microphone, provide your name and address for the record. Anyone? No? Next on the item on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, Mayor. There are a number of items that are in my written report that I'll address at the time they come up during the agenda, so as to not be redundant. But there are a couple things that are not for specific agenda items. This evening we have scheduled a resolution to adopt the 2019 budget. I just wanted to provide a brief response for the record. I know there were some comments during the public hearing on the budget, and just to clarify, they were reviewed and the comments were considered. As previously discussed, the open space tax was increased for 2019 based upon the fact that that money can return exponentially actually on its use. So, the council made the decision to increase that from 0.6 of a cent to a full cent. Obviously, that's something that can be evaluated, and the instruction at the time the decision was made was that we'll review it for 2020. So it is what it is for this year. We'll see what we can do, but every year it will be reviewed. Additionally, there's no appropriation within the 2019 budget for the construction of the municipal building. However, it's not a subject that's gone by the wayside. The Township Council continues to investigate the options and the best way to plan for municipal facilities moving forward. I'm going to schedule a professional to come make a presentation at some point, but the goal is to make a data-driven decision based upon the expenditure that's associated. Again, the municipal budget is scheduled for this evening, and then lastly, or second to last, excuse me, the road resurfacing is scheduled for authorization this evening. There's a resolution for West Parkway. West Parkway was the road that had significant work done as a result of the installation of the water main, so I'm happy to say that that's going to be scheduled as soon as possible. We're looking for the end of May or June. In addition, the following roads are scheduled for action in 2019. Mountain Avenue, again associated with the water main project, also some drainage issues. Lockwood Avenue, Dale Avenue, Winfield Avenue, Union Avenue from Winfield to Hopper, Van Riper Avenue, Davis Avenue from Van Riper to Birch, Lenape Court, Pearl Avenue, Hillview Road, which is also known as Beaverbrook Road in Lincoln Park, but this is our portion of the DOT project, supported by a grant. West Sunset up by the golf course, and Jacksonville Road. If anyone drives on Jacksonville Road regularly, there's an interesting amusement ride as you approach some of the farms, and that was repaired once. Now that it's settled, we're going to mill it and hopefully repair it so that it is no longer an amusement ride. Lastly, the Martin Berry House, the grant was secured from the County of Morris. Unfortunately, the bids came in exceedance of the budget for the project, so there's a resolution scheduled for the council's consideration tonight to reject all bids based upon that fact. The project is not over. The professional associated is working with the County of Morris. Because it is grant funded, we can't simply change the scope of the project without putting grant funding in jeopardy. So that will come back as a reshaped project, resized project, and we look forward to going back out to bid in the future.
Any idea when we might go back out to bid, or when that process might be?
The request was sent into the county with an explanation of what's going on, and there's an ongoing dialogue. I don't have an exact date, but we're going to do it as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Unless there's any questions, that's all I have. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is public hearing on ordinance number 2019-05. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2019-05 is an ordinance amending Chapter 79 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Pequannock and establishing a fee for marriage officiating.
Are there any comments from council?
No.
Nope.
Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. If anyone in the audience has any questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone, identify yourself for the record. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2019-05.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next on the agenda is introduction for ordinance, Ms. Marsh, 2019-06.
Ordinance number 2019-06 is an ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Pequannock Water Utility in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, and appropriating the sum of $65,000 for financing thereof.
Mr. Brewer, any comments?
This is a fully funded capital ordinance, again totaling $65,000. The two items or categories of items include equipment replacement, which is for water meters, hydrants, and needed equipment, as well as the replacement of an F-350 truck.
Are there any comments from council?
No, the only thing I was going to ask you, was that when you talk about hydrants, is that also the maintenance of the hydrants or just replacing of hydrants?
Replacing the hydrants, and if there's an upgrade or enhancement that's necessary that reaches the level of a capital improvement. Simple repairs wouldn't.
Right, like
wouldn't reach
painting them would not.
That would, no, that would. Painting is not allowed in capital, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce 2019-06.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next on the agenda is introduction of ordinance 2019-07. Ms. Marsh.
Ordinance number 2019-07 is an ordinance, 2019-07 is an ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, and appropriating the sum of $1,203,000 for financing thereof.
I really don't like that financing thereof. We're paying for this with cash. We're not financing anything.
Poor wording.
Yeah. Mr. Brewer, any comments?
Standard wording, I understand the council's concern. Again, it's a fully funded ordinance being paid for by cash. It doesn't involve the issuance of any debt. It's consistent with the plan that was discussed and reviewed as a component of the 2019 budget process.
Are there any comments from council?
Nope.
No. Is there a motion to introduce the ordinance on its first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2019-07.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Ryan seconded.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next on the agenda is introduction for ordinance 2019-08. Ms. Marsh.
Ordinance number 2019-08 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of certain property owned by the Township of Pequannock, Block 2306, Lot 20, not required for public purposes pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-13 et sequence.
Mr. Brewer, any comments?
This is a piece of property located at 90 Village Road. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell interested parties. We're going to have an auction. If anyone is interested and wants to come buy it, the auction has been scheduled for July 11th, and we hope to get a good price for a piece of property. The property was purchased by the sewer utility as a component of the village area sewer project, so the proceeds of the sale will go back to the sewer utility.
Thank you. Are there any comments from council?
That answered my question.
No?
No.
Is there a motion to introduce the ordinance on its first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce
You go ahead.
2019-08.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next on the agenda is introduction is ordinance 2019-09.
2019-09 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of certain properties owned by the Township of Pequannock. This is Block 1802, Lot 41, not required for public purposes, pursuant to NJSA 48:12-13 at sequence.
Mr. Brewer.
This is a 15-foot by 100-foot piece of property located along Woodland Court. Don't tell your neighbors, don't tell your friends. It's based upon the applicable law. It's being offered at auction to contiguous property owners. They will be submitting sealed bids.
Any comments from council?
Nope.
No.
Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2019-09.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next on the agenda for introduction is ordinance 2019-10. Ms. Marsh.
Ordinance 2019-10 is an ordinance establishing minimum and maximum salaries and pay rates for designated officials and employees of the Township of Pequannock.
Mr. Brewer.
This is an ordinance required to set the pay ranges for non-represented personnel, which means any individual not covered by a collective bargaining unit. It is essentially the ordinance you've seen in the past, except it's been slightly re-swizzled to be easier to navigate with an alphabetical ordering of the titles. Those titles or amounts that have been changed are in bold. If there are any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Are there any comments from council?
No.
Yeah, I think I got all my questions. You got one?
Do I need to abstain on this because my son's going to be a lifeguard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Is there a motion to introduce the ordinance on its first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2019-10.
Is there a second? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Abstaining because my son works in town.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. I'm not abstaining because he's involved with collective bargaining. Is that correct?
Right.
Coming up with two more.
Okay. Next on the agenda is ordinance 2019-11.
Ordinance number 2019-11 is an ordinance fixing the salaries and compensation for the employees of the Teamsters Local Union Number 469 of the Township of Pequannock for the period of January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2021.
Mr. Brewer, any comments?
Second one, like the first one. The only difference is this articulates a legislative approval of the salaries for those individuals covered by the Teamsters contract who are members of the Department of Public Works.
All right. Are there any comments from council?
No.
Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2019-11.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next on the agenda is introduction is ordinance 2019-12. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2019-12 is an ordinance fixing the salaries and compensation of the paid police officers of the Township of Pequannock for the period January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2023.
Mr. Brewer, any comments?
Third verse, similar to the first.
Second.
And the second. However, this is for those individuals who are covered by the PBA and SOA agreements within the Department of Police.
Are there any comments from council?
I question. That's a 4-year contract?
5-year contract.
5-year? Okay. That's it.
Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce 2019-12, sorry.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
I'll abstain from this one, being that my son is on the police department. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2019-103, adoption of the 2019 municipal budget. Ms. Marsh.
Wait a minute, you're talking fast. The title of Resolution R 2019-103, the adoption of the 2019 municipal budget, is as follows. Be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Pequannock, County of Morris, that the budget herein before set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated of the sums therein set forth as appropriations, totaling $18,745,156, and authorization of the amount of $12,214,585.39 for municipal purposes, and $238,622.02 for open space recreation, farmland, and historic preservation trust fund levy, and $926,591.61 for the minimum library tax. This budget was approved for introduction on March 26, 2019. The public hearing was scheduled for and held on April 23, 2019, and the budget is ready for adoption at this time.
Do we need to repeat that?
Please don't.
Mr. Brewer, any comments?
Thank you.
That's his comment.
Carol, what you read, was that actually written out in our package anywhere?
Sort of. If you look at
Right.
the budget resolution, but it's
Different, I know.
it's slightly different.
Yeah, okay.
But it's actually more readable than what's in that document,
Okay.
in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and I'll amplify the thank you. I spoke at the introduction, I spoke at the public hearing. Obviously, it's my first budget in the Township of Pequannock. It's the Chief Financial Officer's first budget in the Township of Pequannock. So working with the staff, the council, public participation, I appreciate all the effort. I'm happy to have it in the books and anticipated hopefully in the books, provided you guys vote in favor of adopting it. But really, thank you to everybody involved. I appreciate all the support. It was a team effort.
Are there any other comments from council?
Any comments?
Nope.
No?
Is there a motion to adopt the 2019 budget?
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2019, R 2019-103, adopting the 2019 municipal budget.
And I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is resolutions. Ms. Marsh.
Give me 1 second, because I have to read something.
Officially now, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Beginning with Resolution R 2019-104, authorizing the use of Morris County Cooperative Pricing Council for the West Parkway improvement projects in the amount of $390,000, $390,654. I just want to make a note that there's a couple of corrections to that. It's the New Jersey DOT that requires that, and I added the cost per unit in one of the items, the first item in the resolution, so that's corrected. Resolution R 2019-105, authorizing a professional services agreement in an amount not to exceed $23,084 between the Township of Pequannock and HMR Architects for architectural and construction administration services for the Martin Berry House Phase 1 rehabilitation. R 2019-106, approving the designated special event permit application for Holy Spirit School Annual Carnival. 2019-107, approving the designated special event permit application for New Jersey Thunderbird Association Car Show. 2019-108, authorizing the acceptance of a hold harmless agreement from Robert and Judith Brown for Block 4203, Lot 6, otherwise known as 4 Baxter Place. 2019-109, authorizing the acceptance of a hold harmless agreement from Timothy and Kristen McGovern for Block 3402, Lot 5, which is 50 Colfax Drive. R 2019-110, rejecting any and all bids for the Martin Berry House Phase 1 rehabilitation project. 2019-111, authorizing the execution of a quit-claim deed, releasing ownership unit from affordability controls for Block 2202, Lot 2, qualifier C213. And R 2019-112, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the May 9th, 2019 bill list and the May 9th, 2019, 2015, and 16 FEMA elevation escrow lists.
Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
No, I don't have any questions answered.
Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I make a motion to adopt, was it Resolution 2019-104 through 2019-111? Is that it? 112, I'm sorry, I forgot the...
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. There are no items for discussion this evening. There are no reports or notices. The next item on the agenda is council reports and announcements. Councilwoman Florence Lynch.
Okay. Real quick, I just meant to say before, I did want to thank our township manager for making the budget process a lot easier, especially going through all the schedules, adding up the numbers. It really helped going through that, so thank you for doing that. I don't really have much of a report. I mean, the flood committee met and we did the tour, which Frank already talked about, and I want to thank, Adam and Frank and everyone who set that up. It was helpful, I think, for the flood committee to get out there and really see everything that's, they know everything that's in the works, but to go and see every site, I think, was very helpful to them. So, thank you for doing that. What else? The senior group met, and I guess I can ask Adam, there is some new processes happening for use of the senior house. Is that correct? Or
The use is consistent with the existing policy. The access changed a little bit as previously reported.
Right, okay.
The number of keys
but
that were out
everything's
to the
working out.
public.
Everything's working out so far? It's
I
too early
haven't
to
heard
tell.
otherwise, so
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be bumps and little curves, but the ultimate answer is if someone needs access and has a right to access and can't get access to the police department, which is luckily located below us, they can get the key there.
Okay. And just a couple of reminders, maybe the mayor was going to bring this up. We have Shred Day coming up on the 18th, right? That's this Saturday, correct? So I just want to remind everybody about that. And some of us went to the First Aid Casino Night. That was a lot of fun. So thank you for doing that. I hope it was a success for the First Aid Squad. We enjoyed it. What else do I have?
Shred Day is at PV Park, and it's from...
9 to 1.
9 to 1, right. What else do I have? Anything else? I just wanted to ask Adam, if you don't mind, I know you've been fielding some calls. Can you just give a quick update, if you don't mind, on the two issues that we get calls on all the time, just for the record, one being the dog park and one being about the water notices that just went out?
Sure. The Foothills Park water situation continues. It's now Foothills Lake almost. The dog park and the police department shooting range and the parking lot are completely covered with water. The prevailing thought, based upon the township engineer, people from the United States Geological Service, the state hydrologist, is it's based upon the high water table. So the question has become, is the water table a new normal? And then is there going to be fluctuation with rain? Obviously, we all know it's raining now. It seems like it hasn't stopped raining since last June, every 3 or 4 days. There was a hope that with the blooming of the trees and the foliage and all of that some of the water would decrease, but that obviously hasn't happened with the 2+ inches of rain we've experienced in the last 48 hours. So we're continuing to monitor it, but the prevailing theory is that it remains the groundwater. I've had a number of interested residents provide lots of ideas and thoughts. We won't close the doors to any idea. We'll explore anything. But right now, that seems to be the issue. And I've heard from consulting engineers and other folks in other towns that have a similar challenge. And unfortunately, we're just hoping it recedes. With respect to the water, on May 7th, the township received approval from the DEP to send out notification regarding the recent exceedance in trihalomethanes, hallucidic acids, and the lead notification based upon the number of homes that were sampled and percentage that tested in exceedance of 15 parts per billion. This is really a continuation of what this council discussed on March 26th. So for the benefit of the record, if anybody wants to go back to the March 26th meeting, the township retained Dr. Raymond Ferrara from Kleinfelder Consulting, who did a wonderful presentation on this. I said recent results in a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek because it did take the DEP several months to give us approval to send out the notification. I think they're just being cautious and careful. The exceedance with respect to the trihalomethanes occurred as a result of the samples taken on March 5th or March 6th, I don't recall, it's one of those 2 days, and it's the second exceedance. The statistics are based upon a 4-quarter running average. The prior exceedance, I think the averages were 82 and 86, although the presence of trihalomethanes in the sample that was taken were significantly lower, the running average still required notice to be provided. Hallucidic acids, there was at least one site that exceeded for hallucidic acids. Again, the exceedance level is 60 parts per billion in that case, and they were in the mid-60s. So that was the first there. My understanding is as the water gets warmer, trihalomethanes go up. As the water gets colder, hallucidic acids go up. The township did additional testing to determine why and where and how, what is this coming from. The wells did not have a significant, our own municipal wells that supply 60% of our potable water did not have significant amounts of organics, and we didn't find any hallucidic acids or trihalomethanes in the locally produced water. The water from Newark, which represents 40% of our water, which was implemented in 2013, is a surface source, so the interaction with the chlorine with the organics creates a breakdown and ends up creating the trihalomethanes and hallucidic acids. The township's water operator has been in regular contact with the city of Newark's water operator. They've installed new capital improvement. They will be changing their pretreatment from chlorine to potassium permanganate, which will hopefully have a positive impact on the presence of trihalomethanes and hallucidic acids coming down the line. We are the second customer on their distribution system. But again, we're working with them. We have a number of things to put in place, but we're very optimistic that that'll have a positive effect. With respect to the lead, as previously reported, the township's testing protocol changed from every 3 years doing 30 samples or 30 homes at random to 60 targeted homes that are in a high rate of potential for having the presence of lead twice a year. When those samples were taken in February and into March, the 60 samples had 9 exceed for 15 parts per billion. The threshold to send notice is 6, so we exceeded by 3 households. Again, as a follow-up to that, with Dr. Ferrara's tutelage, we triangulated around the areas where the positive tests or the test that exceeded the level took place and tested the water system and found no presence of lead that exceeded the normal background of what's normally in our system, which is less than 1 part per billion to up to about 2 parts per billion. So the logical conclusion is that the presence of lead is not being dictated by the system, it's not a component of the distribution system, but is in fact in people's homes, which is consistent with past exceedances. The one that I can think of was someone's faucet. So we're working to educate the public. There's a number of stories in the press. I've had a lot of conversations with members of the press. Unfortunately, I think some of them have been sensationalized and are more based upon garnering clicks and less based upon the furtherance of information to people. But should anyone have questions, please always feel free to direct them to Mr. Seigling, the licensed water operator, Mr. Coriel, the health officer, or myself. We'd be happy to discuss it with them. And I'd like to compliment the township of Pequannock's residents, because I've had the opportunity to speak to about a dozen 2,000 people today, and everybody's really looking for information and approaching it in a professional and respectful manner, so I appreciate that.
So Adam, let me ask you a question. If Newark is supplying water to us, they're also supplying water to other people. How come these towns have not had to raise the flag yet?
They have.
They have?
Yes.
Okay. So how come we're not reading about them when we're only reading about ourselves?
There are a number of towns east of here that Newark supplies water, Montclair, Bloomfield, that if you Google them in water, you'll see a lot of stories about them as well. They have a different problem from us. A lot of their issues result from lead being in their distribution systems and the interaction of the water. We don't have that issue, but there are a lot of other press reports out there. I think because it's the township of Pequannock, it seems like it's a little bit more meat on the bone than another story about some of the cities and towns that may be more frequently reported.
Okay.
But that's just the world according to me.
Well, I appreciate your explanation and appreciate you, all the time you put talking to residents about it, and the town was ahead of the curve on all this. So we really appreciate it because it's just educating the public. That's probably the biggest calls I've been getting the last couple of weeks is either on the water quality or the dog park. So that's I figured it was good just to go ahead and give another update.
And I apologize for interrupting you, but again, if anybody else has seen this, there are 2 letters up on the township's webpage that were posted directly after we received the results, because the township wasn't going to wait for approval from anybody to notify people that we knew information. Our approach was to put it out there, and the actual data is available for people to look at. There's also all the data is in the public domain, so people can review it there as well.
And the lead testing, again, back to what you said with the sampling, that's still just on that period of time that homes were built between 70...
In the late 70s to about 1987.
Right.
In 1986, a law went into effect that banned the use of lead in solder.
Right. And that's why we think it's in the building materials and in the house.
That's the logical conclusion.
2 more quick things before I give up my time. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor.
I think I stole most of it, so I apologize.
Nothing was mentioned tonight about the master plan survey, so I just wanted to take the opportunity to make sure that we continue to tell residents, it's important to have your voice heard and take the survey, and you can get the information either from Town Hall or on the website, and if you haven't gotten a copy of the master plan survey, let's go to the clerk's office, the manager's office. It's on the website, but if you need it, I know
If you need a hard copy.
If you need a hard copy, we've been trying to put them out there, but I don't know if they've continued to be replenished, but just wanted to make sure everybody knew how important that is. I think we're over, well over 200 surveys.
Well over 200 at this point, yeah. I believe I have about 15 or 20 in my office on top of the electronic.
And I do believe we're going to collect the input from people all throughout the summer.
Correct.
So, and then last but not least, I figured I'd just take this opportunity to tell people about Pequannock Valley Rotary. Their 5K race is coming up on Sunday, June 9th. So if anyone wants to either sign up to partake in that, see one of the Rotary members, and they're also looking for sponsorships. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hurd.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Adam, dog park. So, just a quick question. I ran past there the other day, and it went down a little. And I ran past there this morning, and it went up a little. So, will sucking it out do anything, pumping it? I mean, is the idea that if we were able to get rid of the water, it's just going to come back up to the level that it's at now?
It's a retention basin, so there is no outflow. So in essence, it's part of stormwater drainage and storage. So yes, I believe if we did take it out, it would replenish.
Up
to what level? I don't know. I'm just a simple bureaucrat. I'm not an engineer. The other challenge is where do you put it?
Yeah.
Because water's going to find its own level. We do have a contingency plan. If West Parkway begins to be threatened by it, we do have a plan.
Then we have to do something.
Well, then we have to do something to maintain access to the hospital and infrastructure, et cetera. But that's only in a situation where we really, really would need to, and that involves pumping it down the street and into the East Ditch.
Okay, so right now we just have to wait and see.
287 runs into that, West Parkway runs into that.
No, I mean, even the back wall seems like water is coming through.
It comes down the mountain.
The
If you
mayor
stand
and
there,
I
you can
drove
hear it.
down 287, and it was a sunny day, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
and it had been sunny for about 2 days, and he noticed it. We looked to the right, and water was pouring down the mountain.
Leaching out. Yeah.
You know?
All right. All right. Let's see. My Pequannock Township Coalition meeting was great. They like the signs. Adam, another plug for Adam. We're getting no smoking and no vaping signs that are going to be put in the park. How many was there?
I think 18.
18. They definitely, when we put them up, we'd like to take advantage of that and do some social media. So if we could do something when DEP or DPW or whoever's going to bolt these to the fences.
Certainly not DEP.
coordinate.
Keep them.
I'll get them out of there. So, let's see what else we got. Our meetings are going to be moved over to the library starting July 10th. This way it's going to be easier for the public to come to our meetings, and I invite everybody to come because we need more members.
Ryan, where are they now that they can't get there?
Right. Yeah, they're at the high school and they're at 4:30. And it just tends to be that the doors are locked, so unless somebody's there and somebody can open it up, it's always a problem. At least going to the library, it's just going to be open
Right.
and a little bit easier. Plus, the library can put, please visit for the dates. So the next date is 7/10, then it's 8/14 and 9/18. On June 22nd, we've got Breaking Stigma, and that's going to be on Morristown Green in Morristown. That's June 22nd from 12 to 3. We are going to be at the Hoedown as well. And let's see, we're also going to be at the Street Fair, I believe, so that is good. Let's see. Frank pretty much said everything about open space. I do want to comment on one thing with the Pequannock Master Plan Committee questionnaire. Frank did a great job of taking our ideas and articulating them into answers for the 5 questions that are being put out to the committees as far as our input for information on the master plan. So thank you very much, Frank. That was great. Let's see, what else? Okay. And then the flood committee. That was great. I'm just going to reiterate what Councilwoman Florence Lynch was talking about. It was interesting. I've been part of the flood committee for a while, so I understand it, but I really appreciate that you guys brought a bunch of other people around so people can understand when we're talking about things about flooding, what are the different areas in town and how all of this works. So that was very good. And I like that once I jumped on the bus, there was a lot of other committees there. Frank again was there. And I think it was definitely worth everybody's time. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Phelan.
I don't have anything.
Thank you.
I was traveling.
Councilwoman Russell.
Environmental Committee had their tree giveaway with help from Shade Tree and other people, and it went great. I think I didn't get there till 10:30, 11, and all the flowering trees were gone. But it went really well. I think people were very happy with it. End of the school year beach party at PV Park is Saturday, June 29th, 12 to 3. There'll be free entrance to the park that day. There'll be a DJ entertainment, face painting, balloon art, and beach games. The first 100 guests will receive a ticket for a free quart of homemade lemonade from Less Than a Minute Lemonade. So that should be fun. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Brewer, are you going to be cooking hamburgers or hot dogs that day, or?
He's going to be giving away the lemonade.
Whatever's needed, Mayor.
All right. First Aid Squad meeting was last night. For April, they had a total of 59 calls. The Memorial Day Parade is coming up on Memorial Day, and they will be more than happy to bring us down to Maresca. If you wish to do that, please meet in the back at 9 o'clock, and they will bring us down. They probably leave around 9:15 to make sure all of their vehicles are down there that are going to be in the parade. I gave you all a copy of Assemblyman Chris DePhillips' resolution for the rain tax. I was wondering if anyone had any comments on rain tax. I mean...
No rain tax.
I think that's great. I think that's really good that he's coming in front of that to say.
Well, I mean, it would have been nice if, we had support for it before it got actually passed, but now that it's already passed, I mean, is this...
I don't think there was a lot of time, was there? It kind of was like...
Yeah. So do we want to support this and have a resolution? This is a sample. Do we want to do a resolution?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful,
I would say
absolutely.
yes.
Okay. Mr. Brewer, do you have any comments on rain tax? I mean, to me,
We would have made a lot of money this year with rain.
Based upon the council's comments, we'll prepare a resolution for the 28th in May. Bottom line is it's a tool that the legislature and the governor created whereby municipalities can create a stormwater utility that generates revenue from fees associated with impervious coverage for the maintenance of stormwater. A review of the Township of Pequannock, we currently fund improvements through the capital program as well as when an applicant comes before the Board of Adjustment of the Planning Board that might have an impact. I spoke with the engineer just to make sure I was prepared for tonight. With our CRS rating, with our Tier 1 stormwater permit, we're pretty progressive in terms of how we handle this because of the issues that face Pequannock. But it's a tool, and it's a tool that could be considered. I don't know if I'd recommend it for consideration in the Township of Pequannock at this time.
well, to me, it's not a tool. It's a new tax that we would have to put on the residents of Pequannock, and I don't think any of us are willing to add any new taxes.
I agree.
with that? So, we'll support this, and no rain tax here in Pequannock.
Yeah. It's basically saying we're not going to use the rain tax. Because, boy, we can make a lot of money with all the rain we're having.
Councilwoman Florence Lynch said Shred Day is this Saturday, May 18th at TV Park. If you have anything, please don't hesitate to bring your stuff down. It's a great day. No businesses, I believe that's the only thing, but any residential that has anything, please don't hesitate to come down. And the June 9th, the Pequannock Valley Rotary 5K is a great event. Pequannock Valley Rotary does wonderful things with the money that they raise, and we all know, how many vests they have purchased for our new police officers in the last year and a half, 2 years. So every new officer gets a new vest, and it's paid for by Pequannock Valley Rotary, and it's done that way from all of the fundraising that they do. So if you can support the 5K, please do that. It's a great event. All right, next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized, come to the microphone, and provide your name and address for the record. Frank?
Well, Frank's coming up. Can I add just one more thing? Do we have a ribbon cutting coming up for Parent Tree?
We do, on Friday, I think.
I just thought of that. I just looked at my calendar. I think it's 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is that still on? I believe it is, right?
Yes.
Where is it?
Louise isn't here.
New Jersey Doctors Urgent Care?
No.
4 o'clock?
No, I believe it's...
Parent Train, 620 Route 23 in Pumpkin Plains. They were in Pequannock, but they moved to a new location, and they want to do a ribbon cutting for their new location. So it's 4 o'clock at Parent Train, 620 Route 23, Pumpkin Plains.
Thank you.
Which I really don't know what Parent Train is, but I guess I'll find out.
I could have used it, I think.
All right, Frank.
Okay, Frank Spizzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. Got a question on the resolutions that you passed. If you look at 2019-110, it says rejecting any and all bids for the Martin Berry House Phase 1 Rehabilitation Project. But yet, you look at 2019-105, you authorized, is there something I'm missing there? Or if you rejected all the bids, how did this guy get the bid?
Two different bids.
If I may. So the authorization of a professional services agreement is with the architect, Kurt Leisure, to prepare the bid documents, to prepare the plans, and it was originally submitted in 2018, and it just hadn't been acted upon. So he was working without a contract to create the project and work with the township for the application. So the resolution to reject all bids, half of his work has been done without a contract or payment, so we're rectifying that.
Oh, okay. It just...
Sure. The timing is a little interesting.
I had a question mark there. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Sharon?
Good evening, Council. Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Point section of Pequannock Township. I just had a question, Adam, with the water improvement from Newark. With the improvements that they're going to make, what's the estimated time frame that we should see our water improve?
My understanding is the capital equipment has been installed and that it's going to be coming online. The last report I got was it would be coming online the second week of June. So what the township would do is once they're online and they're doing the different treatment process, we would do an aggressive hydrant flushing. And it would be, I would say, a period of weeks to be conservative.
So July, July?
No, the next round of testing, is that going to be before it goes online or after?
It'll be
right around.
Right before. So the potential for the requirement for a third notice is real. The second week in June is before June 4th, which I think is the next testing date. So, most likely we'll have to do a third notice. If the exceedances continue, they may drop off, I don't know. But the new process will be implemented the second week in June. I figured by July we'll be flushing aggressively and hopefully be through the issue.
So really, we will not see the results until September of the new...
From a statistical perspective, the new water will be in the lines, but...
So by July, though, the new water should be, after the hydrants are all flushed, August and September, in the beginning of September, do they do the testing, or is it the end of September?
Every 3 months. Depending upon availability of staff and labs, etc.
So they did it in March, so we got April, May, June, and then...
Most likely early September.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir. Sorry, I don't know your first name. You're not one of the season ticket holders.
Mark Holden, 28 Slingerland Ave. To the lead testing. The 9 homes that did exceed the levels, is that from a particular development area in town, or is that spread across town just by date of construction?
There was one in the southern end of town, and then there was a group kind of in the northern middle end of town, which is what led us to test kind of the water around to say, is this a construction methodology? Is this an issue in a neighborhood or on a street? So there's a general section of them, which I think is really dictated by those were the homes constructed during a certain time period, and that was the sample that the DEP wanted us to take.
Yeah, the DEP provided us with the addresses. Mm-hmm. They provided us with more than 60 homes just in case someone refused to do the testing. Right. But we did get results on 60 of the homes that were addresses that were given to us by DEP, and we will continue, according from DEP requirement, to test the same homes.
The ones that exceeded levels.
The same 60 homes, again, in 6 months.
The sample size is approximately 150. I don't recall off the top of my head. It's around there. So of that, we have to do 60 twice a year. It can be the same 60. Sometimes it could be within that sample size.
So we're going to see the same results consistently?
The potential exists.
Unless the homeowner elects to do something to the pipes or faucets or...
People need to understand that the lead is not in our water system, it's in their homes.
It's skewing the results.
It's skewing. It's just...
Put it in reverse osmosis water filtration or something like that in your home, or replace lead pipes.
Right. And the advice... And excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just to also note, I should have said this earlier, the advice that's in the correspondence is if you let your water run cold and wait another 30 seconds, 60 seconds, that alleviates most of the problem. Some of the people I've spoken with have said, well, I'm not going to spend any money, I'll just let the water run for a couple minutes. Right. So there's a lot of different approaches to the issue, and some people are coming at it from different perspectives. But the possibility, again, exists that if we have 7 or more of the 60, then notification has to go.
And before you go and do the remote reverse osmosis, I would have, the health department has 3 labs that are willing to work.
Depending on the cost of the test, you can almost pay for putting the filter in.
I heard one was $50. They, right. So, I mean, I'd rather spend $50 to find out if I have, one was $150, one was $75, and I think one was $50. Now, most of them you have to take the water testing yourself and bring it to them, but I heard there's one right in Fairfield that's relatively close. So.
Adam, when they test the water themselves, so they're given the test kits and they test it themselves, are they told to run run the water first?
No.
And then, or it's just you open the tap and
There's
put it right in?
instructions with the,
Right.
whichever lab you use.
But what I'm saying is the ones from DEP, was it specific, do not run the water first?
Yes.
Yeah, there was instructions.
It's first fill, and that is it. The DEP protocol is that the houses are identified, a kit is sent out with instructions, they open the faucet, and immediately that's the water that comes out.
Gotcha.
So if you haven't exercised
Right.
your
So
faucet
if you do
for
it first thing in the
a
morning
considerable
and it's
period
been
of time,
sitting all night and nobody's ran the water.
or if you haven't used it in 6 months or not, I mean, there's a lot of different variables that can play into it, but the result of the result.
Let me ask the real estate expert here. If I was to sell my house and I knew it had lead in it, you would have to list it on
The seller's disclosure, if they knew there was lead, they'd probably have to put it on their property disclosure statement, sure.
That's the only question I had.
Thank you very much.
Please feel free to follow up if
Thank
you have any further questions.
Any other questions?
pipe in my house.
Okay. Wait, yes? Oh, sorry, sir.
Somebody else.
Hey, come on up.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Keith Struble, 20 Munson Drive.
Hi.
So they're going to change from chlorine to phosphate, so that's going to take the smell out of the water. Now, what if none of this works? And we have the THA, from what I understand, it's carbon filters that you probably have to use.
Correct.
And it's a couple $1,000s for a filtering system to put in your house. Would this phosphate, is that going to fix the problem? Or do I have to plan on a whole house filter system?
It's believed that it's going to fix the problem. I can't tell you if it's going to fix the problem or not, because last time I checked my crystal ball, it broke, and I've been wrong ever since.
What did the water engineer say? He say it's going to...
They believe it will, because to your point...
They are the good guys.
Yeah, it's the water engineer and the licensed operators, they know what they're talking about. Because of not using the chlorine, you're not going to have the reactive agent with the organics, which then breaks down and creates the trihalomethanes. We will still chlorinate our system. There will still be chlorine in the water.
Yeah, because the smell is like,
Correct. And it changed.
I won't even drink the water, yeah.
So
I know there's an issue.
Yeah, so the thought is that's going to correct it. If that does not correct it, and we'll know in pretty short order, there are additional steps that can be taken that are definitely being considered. One of which is to reduce the use of the water from the city of Newark. We do need the water to reach capacity issues. So there are times during the summer months, especially when it's dry, that we need the water.
Yeah.
But there are different approaches, and we're working with Dr. Ferrara to see what is best. His recommendation at this time was not to do anything with the city of Newark. He said, the belief is this will work.
On the lead issue?
Yes.
How do they know it's the house?
We know, well...
I mean, they take the water out of the faucet, okay, it's in the house. So they go to the next house and it doesn't have lead coming out of the water? Is that what they do?
We have...
How do they know which one has got lead in it and which one doesn't?
They don't. The houses that they test, the results were the results. The way we tested the system is we went to the hydrants in the street and other points in the system to work
Close
around.
to where it is.
Correct, on the same streets where the exceedances were.
So you took the water out of the hydrant, did the test
Correct.
on the hydrant, so that you know where that's the main water coming in.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So, but the neighbor...
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, the neighbor who wasn't tested might have an exceedance.
Yeah.
They just weren't tested.
Well, the person that had lead in their house are going to have to probably replace all the copper tubing with PEX or something else to make that work. Or they use lead-free, but you have to take the pipe out.
Right. Or one of them elected to do nothing and let the water run.
I guess.
Because it doesn't become aerated. It doesn't, when you take a shower, it doesn't have, it's not like you're going to inhale lead. It's a heavy metal.
Yeah.
So their perspective was if
They move fresh water.
If I use bottled water and I let it run, I'm fine.
Yeah, because it's coming in from the street and the street doesn't have it. So by the time
it moves, you're good.
For itself. But the real estate lady's right.
Yes. And people react very differently. I appreciate it.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Next on the agenda is minutes for approval. We have minutes from April 4th, 2019, and April 23rd. And Mr. Hurd, you have to abstain from the 23rd. Are there any comments on these minutes?
No.
Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 4th and April what?
23rd.
23rd, thank you.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda is closed session discussion. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2019-113, authorizing the council to meet in executive session to discuss the matters of attorney-client privileges in connection with the sewer connection request? Yes, is there?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? At this time, the public meeting is in recess for closed session.